Chasing happiness will make you depressed. How's it going, everybody? My name is Sam Hardy. If this is the first time you're watching me, and we're going to get into why people nowadays struggle to find happiness and how happiness is not something that you can chase or find. I would appreciate it if you guys were to like, subscribe, and share this video. I'm going to talk about why chasing happiness. One is happiness is not something that you can chase, and that why, and in the act of trying to do so, why it's making people in the modern day so depressed. Getting right into it, first point is the more you take, the less you have. In the modern world, with commercials, advertisements, and things that we just hear in general, it's often thought that more will make us happy. We need something else to make us happy. We need more of something to make us happy. More clothes, more food, more entertainment, going out all the time, doing more we think will make us happy. And that's what our brain likes to tell us, even though it turns out to be quite the opposite. Whether or not it's virtual, like on the phone, not in the real world, or in the real world, like going out too much, eating too much food, scheduling too many activities within a day, or virtual, like watching more episodes of a show, watching more movies, watching more videos, watching more dopamine. Real world or not, both of these give us an overstimulated brain. And this overstimulation is the main reason that we are experiencing so much anxiety and depression. This more that our brains tell us is what we need, what we want, is actually the thing that's killing us from the inside. I used to not be a depressed person. I used to not be a depressed person. I was never a depressed person, but I'm a much happier person now. Most people can't say that. That right now, as I speak, as I'm getting older, every year for the past year and going on, my life's just got better and better. I enjoy it more and more. I feel like things just get better because I get to experience more. But it's because I've changed the way I've lived. I absolutely did not used to be like this. I used to play all the sports, not for the best reason though. I used to play basketball. I remember going to basketball practice, baseball practice. I kind of played as many sports as I could, and I thought that this would give me more of a happiness. I could be like the athlete that does all this stuff. I used to hang out with people at every opportunity because I thought more social experiences just equaled more happiness. More time with friends equaled more happiness. And probably the worst example I have of this, or the strongest example that I have of this, is that I used to play games in the earlier days. I used to play a game called Pixel Gun, if you guys know what that is. Absolutely awesome game. I mean, it was fun, but especially when I was younger. But I used to spend actual money to buy all the cool guns and all the cool gems and coins, if you guys remember, to get all the good stuff in the game. And my absolute worst was Fortnite. And I guarantee anybody watching this probably has heard of Fortnite, but I used to be big on buying all the skins and everything. I used to buy all the skins because I needed more of this, more of that. That was what was going to make me happier. That's how I thought about it. So I used to be a more mentality type of guy, extremely so. So I know that I'm just speaking from personal experience that anybody can change this. When I was younger, especially when I was younger, I was limited in my games. It started around the Pixel Gun days because that was the first, but I was not allowed to buy anything more than once a month. I think at first I didn't have any limits. I was just, if I had the money, I was allowed to buy it. My dad taught me an extremely valuable lesson that I'm glad I learned at a young age, or younger than most people do. Why he limited me, even though I could afford it, I actually had, at sometimes I had decent money as a kid. I worked pretty hard to get money so I could spend it on games, but I had a lot of money for a young kid. But why he limited these purchases, I mean, he wanted me to realize I was allowed to actually be my own person on it, because if it was completely up to him, I'm sure he wouldn't have let me buy any spend real money on any virtual games. But he let me really learn the lesson. And what he called it was the hungry ghost, which is what I'm talking about, which is the desire for more and the trap that many people fall into. That you need more to get happy. At first, it's just wants and desires, and it turns into needs when you get deeper and deeper into it. And so, what he was doing is preventing it. It was once a month, was not very often. So, while he let me do my own thing, he didn't let me get into the cycle of more and more and more. And then as I got older, I eventually realized this myself. But that lesson I learned from him originally was very helpful. And what what this video is very specifically about. But anyway, so what many people do is they do too much within a day, or they want too much. They don't ever give themselves downtime. They don't give their brains downtime. That's why, of course, the brain in the instant that it sees something, or when you get that first desire, of course your brain instantly wants it. That's the first thing that it thinks about, is that I want this, I need this, whatever. But when you feed into that, you wind up not giving your brain any downtime or doing anything else. And these desires, the instant desires, the more, that hungry, that burning desire to get something that you want in the moment, are the things that feel good in the moment, but do negatively impact your life. And the fix to this is to live a simple life. Live and do the things that you actually care about and cut out all the other nonsense. And this is easier said than done. This is what I realized this before I actually implemented it, because it's hard to realize what you actually care about. To find the things that you actually care about are actually important to you, that actually mean something to you, to be able to filter it out. The only way to effectively do this is to spend time in solitude. So spend time by yourself. Go in your room by yourself. Leave your phone out of the room. Just bring a pen and paper like this right here. Bring some pen and some paper and write down what you think about. Think about really deeply and spend as much time as you need. If you have to come back another day and spend another hour to do it, then absolutely do so. But you will absolutely make progress, and eventually you will find your answers that you want. Solitude is the time that, especially in the modern world, sometimes the only time our brains get to actually have downtime. And when they have this downtime, they can actually, your brain becomes so smart when when it's not overwhelmed with other things to think about. When it can truly focus with zero stimulation or anything, then your brain becomes like a super machine, which it is, but we don't really get to see that potential because we're always overloading it with things. So go into solitude and you will eventually find the things that you actually care about. And living a simple lifestyle does not mean being poor or having a low quality of life. Absolutely not. It means doing the things that are genuinely important to your life, things that you genuinely care about, and cutting out everything else that makes you unhappy. And then you realize these things are just extra nonsense. It doesn't actually mean anything to you. And that's what the overstimulation is. And why many people never even get to this point of thinking about it is because, like many people, that as soon as they have downtime, like they get a break from school, or they get a break at work, or they get some free time, and the second they get that free time, they go on their phone and start scrolling. You just rot your brain, and you kill all your mental downtime. That's why many people don't ever get brilliant ideas anymore, is because they don't ever give their brain a chance to do so. But the second quick thing is to delay gratification, and I touched on this briefly when we were talking about living simply. This used to be my personal worst trait, was that I used to be a big procrastinator. I used to indulge in instant gratification very many times a day. But delaying gratification is extremely important. I'll give an example. You go to work, or whatever you do. Some of you guys may be too good for work, but let's pretend you went out with some friends, and one of them brings donuts. And now you could either do two things. You could either eat the donut or not eat the donut, but it's bigger than that. Instant gratification, instant indulgence would look like this. You get the donut, you eat the donut, but that's not where it ends. So what happens is that you get the donut, you eat the donut. So we're going to talk about your dopamine, like your happiness spike. You're out with friends, so you eat the donut. You get that boost, because donuts taste awesome. Everybody likes donuts. We're not saying that people don't like donuts, but there's difference in self-control that some people have and understanding delaying gratification. But so you eat the donut, you get that dopamine boost because it tastes awesome. But then rather than coming back to baseline later, you actually come below, because now that you've eaten one junk food, you're going to physically feel worse. But you're also going to mentally regret it. Most people, when they do stuff like that, later are like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So you mentally and physically dip. So rather than having the high, getting that boost, eating that delicious donut, then you go below baseline. Now you regret, and regret's a bad feeling to feel. Regret's not a good emotion to feel. So you go below baseline, and then eventually you'll come back. So not only did you not enjoy the experience overall very much, It was very neutral. You had the high and then you had the low. So it's a net zero. But for the person that gets offered the donut and says no, this was their happiness. They're at baseline. They don't get the donut, so it doesn't go up instantly. But so they're at baseline, and then later, a couple hours later, they actually get the spike. They get the spike, and then they come back down to baseline. And that spike was the self-confidence, the pride that they felt, than the fact that they delayed their gratification and they had the self-control to do so. So the experience is overall better because this high and the low cancel out. They equal zero. But when you have the baseline, then you get the +1, and then you go back down to baseline. So you enjoy the experience more by having the self-control and delaying the gratification. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Subscribe for more. Share, like, I would appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on the next one.